This is Dr. Gadja, an economist, computer scientist, medical doctor, and global health PhD epidemiologist. I do this as a call-in to help Ghana chart a course for greatness and, in the process, help Africa along the way. There are many issues we'll be discussing on this platform, and we welcome your comments, rebukes, and questions. Today's topic. This is Dr. Gadja, back again with you. I've been looking at a few things happening in Ghana, and that makes me kind of feel like coming on this time to bring you some information or some update in terms of the economic perspective of things and how I see them. And I saw one government official going around looking at stores, or maybe just went to a few couple stores and observed, according to him, people in the stores, and so concluded that Ghana is having economic turnaround from the doldrums of difficulty that it has been experiencing not too long ago, which pushed them to go to the IMF and seeking some economic relief. That is not the way you would expect a government to measure economic turnaround. And it is pathetic when we do this. Beyond this is the announcement from government that it was going to restrict the importation of some products into the Ghanaian economy with the view or the purpose to protect local industry. Looks great. And for the ordinary Ghanaian on the street who does not understand the economic impact of these things, the government is doing great for them because it's seeking to protect local industry. One thing they do not realize is that the government is protecting local industry at the expense of their ability to get goods and services at a cheaper price, at the expense of their enhanced living standard, at the expense of their quality of life. Because the way the government spins is this way. We are protecting local industry to be able to protect jobs in the industry and so on and so forth. One thing that I want to say off the back is that at times even the industry locally that is producing a particular commodity employs less than the industry employs in terms of those that work on import of that product. Now, why am I saying this? I'm not saying this to say that importation is better than producing locally. But I'm saying that if you actually decide to see how many people's income come from, let's say, the importation of rice and then the retail of that commodity, from the importation all the way to the retail of the commodity, and see how many people are employed and look at the income, not just the income but the number of people that are employed, and then take it to a local producer, just say put all the local producers or the local producer of the same amount of rice locally, say the local producer of the same amount of rice locally, and see how many people they employ and how many people are engaged in the distribution of that rice into retail. And let's see whether we employ more people when we produce locally or when we import the same amount of commodity, the same commodity. These are things that the government has to know through studies and research. The government doesn't have to just get up and say, oh, protect the local industry and all that, with the what do you say, the caveat of protecting jobs or providing jobs, where it does not really know whether importation of the same commodity, same amount, provides more jobs in the local economy than if it was produced locally. We have to know these things. We have to examine them and make sure we know that. But this was what the guy said. He said there are some items that you have to ban the importation of to protect local industry. Now I want to analyze this policy from both angles, basically from the advantageous angle and from the disadvantageous angle, or the other angle, imports or not import these items. And the reason why I want to do that is so that my listeners can be able to understand that unfortunately our governments do not analyze policy completely or extensively before implementing them. And that may be a lack of knowledge, or for whatever reason I really can't explain, or they don't understand economics. Economics is a subject to help people or governments understand what they do. Basically, economics helps you to understand the impact, or able to focus you on the impact of what you are doing, so that before you decide to do whatever you want to do, you already know the impact on your economy and on your people. Like I've been saying these days, the whole job of government is to protect your people, that is their lives, and the other one is to ensure that they have a better standard of living. Every time that is a challenge. A better standard of living. Their quality of life is improving each time. These are the two main jobs of government. Now, even protecting lives does not even only include defense. It includes economics also. Because economics gives access to things, or prevents one from accessing things. So it includes economics also. Economics is almost like the base factor for everything in society. Economics affects disease, it affects social life, it affects everything, pretty much. It affects happiness, everything. So it is very essential that government looks at that in ensuring that the lives of their people are made better. Now, in talking about the effects of a policy of restricting certain products into the country, is not to say that every import is good. Now, the government has to have standards, like the standard board, based on its name, standards. There's so much junk, so much garbage that comes into Ghana and many African countries, in terms of medicine, in terms of, like it mentioned, diaper. There's so much junk that comes in terms of food, the quality of the food. The standard boards must be equipped with the right equipment to be able to test every product that is coming to the country. If you have to employ more people for that kind of job, let's do it. more labs that test quality of food, so that we know that the quality of food entering our system is good from the borders, from the ports. And then after that, there should be a random survey in the market to test the quality of items that are being sold to our citizenry. Now, these are just beginning issues, but Einstein, that's Albert Einstein, the great scientist, wrote that doing the same thing expecting a different result is insanity. If you do the same thing, you have to expect the same result. To expect a different result is to do something different. And at times, doing something different gives you a different perspective to understand that the first thing you were doing was wrong. Now you do the same thing, you get the same result. If you don't like the result, you have to change what you are doing. If you don't like the result, you have to change what you are doing. The easiest test to diagnose a psychotic condition is to look at the activities of a person and the goals they attain or get based on their activity, and see if that is the goal they are looking for. So to do the same thing expecting different results is psychotic, as Einstein said. The constitutional instrument, that is how Ghana called it, which is a constitutional instrument to restrict certain products into the country. This morning, to add up to this, I heard that the person who said this said, anybody who wants to import these restricted products should have to seek permission. This is exactly what we do. Creating delay, creating a process, and seeking an alternative, which is corruption. That is where the bureaucrats get the opportunity to accept bribes, which they previously did not get because there was no need for permission. So you look at the Ghana system, you see that it's a situation where government workers create artificial delays, artificial problems in order to have the opportunity to take bribes to process what they should have already been processing. Let me give you a typical example. Now, I heard I listened to the news on Ghana and read on Ghana, and the two leading candidates for the upcoming elections in Ghana, which is the candidate for the NPP and the candidate for NDC, are all struggling about this term. They use a terminology, that's a propaganda style of Ghana. 24-hour economy. What does 24-hour economy mean? The journalists are not doing their jobs. What does 24-hour economy mean? And let them explain it. I hear some of them say, I'm going to make sure the port runs 24 hours because of congestion. You have to first find out whether the congestion in the port is structural or artificially created. And I believe it's artificially created to slow the process so that bribes can be taken. When the process is slowed, when you don't want to be part of the slow process, you go behind and pay bribe so that your item goes out quicker compared to the rest. And it is a feature of Ghana's economy. Everything you give the bureaucrat in Ghana to do, to a large extent, I don't want to say everybody though, They will delay the process, creating an artificial backlog so as to be able to accept bribes from people who want it quicker. Now, if they all went quick, there will be no need for any congestion needing bribes. So they deliberately do these things. So it was no wonder to hear the minister who said we're going to ban these items turn around just the next minute and say, if you want to bring it in, you have to ask permission. Let me assume this, just for the benefit of the doubt, that everybody who asks for permission will be allowed. And I'm telling you, that is it. Anybody who asks for permission will be allowed. But at what expense? At some money. Which means those items artificially become further more expensive than they already were. Every economist will agree that the market determines better the efficient use of resources or the efficient allocation of resources. That market forces do this better. Now, when you're intervening in the market, you have to intervene in a way that you can be able to forecast the outcome such that you know that is going to benefit your people. Last, I had made a podcast about the effects of tariffs and quotas on the citizenry, and talked about it and explained the effects on the economy, looking at it from government's perspective of protecting the citizens of Ghana. And we all saw that it wasn't doing that. And that is why I started with Einstein's quote. In the 60s and 70s, many newly independent African countries tried this approach, using quotas and everything, banning a lot of products with the hope that they will produce the products locally because they were trying to industrialize. The only problem with that is that they did not think about the factors of international trade, the reason why we have international trade. The main purpose is to use the world's resources most efficiently. Excuse me. You see, if you do not factor that in, you will make a mistake. You'll be doing what you shouldn't be doing. Basically, using much of the world's resources and producing less, and even at lower quality. So we had done this before, and we just have to look at the results. What was the benefit of it? What we realized, and one main reason for which the first president of Ghana, Nkrumah, was overthrown, is because he has established state-owned enterprises which unfortunately became corrupt at the top. They were enterprises to produce the items that Nkrumah has selected for local manufacturing. They became corrupt. The other thing is that when we saw that they were not able to produce to the quality of those that were coming from outside, of those same products coming from outside. And they produced them, even poor quality, at a more exorbitant cost, having to lead to government subsidizing them. Basically, they were not providing any revenue. They were not making anything. They were rather taken from government. So government was in turn subsidizing the price of the products on the market. Basically, that is a way of government trying to help the people some way. But the main view of the government was try to help the manufacturing companies. But if you subsidize the cost of producing a good, some way you will be subsidizing the price at which the good is being sold. So I'll say that to some extent it went to the people somehow. But the problem is that the quality was bad. It was a shoddy product. So you were reducing the life quality of your citizens. Instead of having access to a better product, I am stuck with a bad product. And government is subsidizing it. Which is like throwing good money after bad stuff. So what will happen with these items that the government has said they want to restrict? Those who go through the back door will pay a bribe. That bribe amount will be put on the price of the product, increasing it further. And those who need the product, I'm not talking want, those who need the product will not be able to say we don't want it. For instance, say diaper. You put diaper on the list. I don't think that there is any local company producing this product at any quality that is needed by those who purchase the foreign ones. So if you ban it, you are making your people suffer because they cannot get the quality they need. And when you say en bloc like that, there are different kinds of it. Maybe he speaking is not at that level, but he'll get to that place soon. Maybe Kufuor will be like, is this guy stupid? Because probably he's there. Geriatrics brings its own problem. But this guy speaking probably doesn't have an issue with that. So he doesn't understand. He couldn't even mention the name of it. These are some of the problems we have. So you ban it, and then now the shoddy products being produced. Now the shoddy guy will not even make an attempt to increase the quality because quality is at a cost. It's at more cost for the manufacturer. More research and development. So he wouldn't, after all, I'm making money. And the other funny thing is that they will not even reduce the price of the local ones. Now it is the only thing that is available, so they'll have market, and so economic factors will push the price up because it's the only one. And with their own strategy, they can even reduce the supply to push the price further up. And government will not even be monitoring that to ensure that the playing field is fair. They always cite problems with the dollar spent on importing of these commodities. Like he said, $100 and whatever million is spent on this and that. Now let me give the benefit of the doubt, assuming that those figures he presented are fair. But the question is, if that is not the case, how much is the value that is lost in standard of living to the African or the Ghanaian? Talk about the impact on health because of poor product. Talk about the nutrition effect. Talk about the living standard effect. Talk about the competition that will ensue as maybe these items are priced higher and the quality is seen by the local industry that wish to go into the production of these. Talk about the benefit you have to even explore these products and be able to improve their product. Talk about the efficient use of resources that the fact that these things come from outside is producing. Talk about the resources that would have been used to go into producing a shoddy product being divested into agriculture, where Ghana probably has absolute advantage in the production of certain goods and commodities because of climate. Talk about all these and come and think about the fact that these industries that are being protected, or they say they are protecting, employs very little in terms of numbers of Ghanaians, and even making exorbitant profit and not caring to bring the prices of their products down for the ordinary Ghanaian to even benefit from. Think about how minuscule that industry is compared to the large the large number of people, that enjoy these products or that use these products. And the government, it says, I'm protecting industry. Actually, what government is doing is choosing industry over the mass of Ghanaians. They are choosing industry over the mass of Ghanaians, and Ghanaians have to know that. We don't do any evidence-based research because the government does not try to sponsor these. These things are what we should do to be able to show that our product or the local product is better than the foreign, and it should be genuine. Now I'm against allowing shoddy products to come into the country, but that should not be the excuse for government to disallow good products from coming in. If it's a good product, even I will be the first to suggest that government should try a way to subsidize to make it cheaper, which is you are trying to increase importation. Yes, if it's a good product. For instance, like we did with COVID vaccines, because we thought it was good. We have to always remember that for every item that is consumed in Ghana in terms of food, there is an opportunity cost. Especially when you think about local food and imported food. Instead of trying to force people to eat bad products, the government has to try to use research to find out which is the better product and encourage the use of the better product. We have to identify Ghana's competitive advantage in amongst the products that we produce and make sure if we are producing them, it's because we have an absolute advantage in that. Because these comparative and absolute advantages, they change over time. As people get more educated and get good at certain things, that advantage may improve. The negative effect of the move the government is trying to make goes far beyond the products alone. It goes to distort the market. We know that the market determines the price based on the demand and supply of the items, and that is an efficient indicator for the allocation of resources. Ghana's entrepreneurs, that's locally, will only attempt to produce more when they think the price is high enough for them to want to produce more. And that is how eventually over time they gain economies of scale. But if we restrict products which are even better for our own people, we will be stifling the standard of living of our people. Instead of using better tactics, basically better economic policies, to improve our product and eventually be able to compete with the country or the exporter from the foreign country, we are trying to protect industries that are will not be able to do well. Eventually, that move will lead to the production and perpetuation of shoddy products on the local market, leading to the ineffective use of economic resources, both in the country and in the world. This is a problem that African countries, especially Ghana, has to examine. I suggest let the market determine the price of stuff and fight the market. If you think it's not okay, based on knowledge, use evidence based on research. And just not jump to do just anything with an excuse that you are protecting local industry. These are things that we have to look at carefully. Look at carefully. And not just make things or life more difficult for your own people. I hope that the Ghana government rethinks these approaches. If you understand that it's only two, you would think about it. When these products don't come in, who are those buying them? How many are there? Now compare with how many people or are in the industry or local industry that competes with this product that I'm protecting. And at what level of quality? These are factors that need to be considered before any such legislations are put in place. Now, I hope our people will learn and be able to analyze policy deep enough. I'll be able to analyze this policy all the way to GDP and all. And that is what we have to do before we decide to restrict or ban any product that comes into the economy. Some of them might even be raw materials to other industries. Say, for instance, healthcare, diapers. We have to think deep. So far, we are not. We are not at all. And it's funny when we get to speak with, people from the West and other people. They are deep thinkers. They think long over an issue. We must try to emulate that. And that'll be fine. Next, I'll be coming back to you with something that I have in how to activate production in your economy. Basically, how to increase GDP. That's in the long run. How to elevate production in your economy. There are so many things that I had written and put down, and I felt like I was thinking that just to remind myself, but I think I have to put it out there so that the government can learn from it and be able to adapt some of these policies. Just hiding it and it's not my desire any longer. That I want to put it out so anybody who can make use of it can do that. It's a lot on every government policy and how I analyze it towards the improvement of the economy and industrialization, or basically just development. I'm not that focused on that, but just development. If you are developed enough, industrialization itself will come in. And if you are thinking like you should be thinking, yes, it will come in. It is sad that after 30, 40 years, the same rudimentary processes that Ghanaians engage in are still what we do. Like you go to the blacksmith, he uses the same, air blowing thing, whilst A condenser could do that and give air to the fire. But we still use the old ways. I hope we begin to think a lot harder and go forward. Thank you, Dr. Gaja.